Welcome back! I'm Tyler, you're watching Scarfing Scarves, and welcome to the 52nd installment of Last Week Lolita News. At the top of the segment, Cat's Tea Party sets are being shipped, Honey Cake is being re-released at the La Forêt private party, and this reporter is waiting for it to start raining ice cream and kittens because apparently anything is possible now, except for whimsical Vanilla Chan because God is laughing at me and there's a good chance hell will freeze over before I get my hands on that feline print. That said, this being La Forêt Party Limited would be an all too cruel joke on the EGL community at large. I hope it goes to an international MTO, and I've already prepared my panic bunker if it doesn't, on the off chance half of you lose your ever-loving minds and instigate World War III over some circular bread. Don't think it's escaped my notice that there's not a single bottle of maple syrup to be found. Honey does not go on pancakes. And I'm well aware that this observation is a lost cause because this print is already committed to ice cream and canned cherries to complete the well-balanced breakfast of Winnie the Pooh. Meanwhile, Angelic Pretty will also be re-releasing Be My Valentine with a Saks colorway, Jewel Marine with a lavender special set, and Fancy Candy in the color it should have been released in all along for anyone who didn't suffer a severe case of staring at the sun. This is obviously the best colorway. It actually comes with a head bow. And evidently the person behind the vestigial belt loops has been put out to pasture because this set is sans all evidence of the design team being dropped on their head as a child. Also, Angelic Pretty will be releasing some kind of mystery print, My Japanese begins and ends at Nani, and none of that is important because they've managed to send a giant fracking cross to the bottom of the ocean a la Christ of the Abyss, and the only thing that stems my annoyance is the fact that it's only a matter of time until fish start fucking in its general direction. Gratuitous religiosity aside, and turning towards the final update for the brand that simultaneously owns my soul and makes me want to damn them to hell, the US release of Unbirthday went over with all the humanity of a massacre. I don't know how the JP release went due to driving to Paradiso, however I do know a bloodbath when I see one, and the cacophonous roar that rang out over the highway was either engine failure or half the EGL community currently plotting blood revenge against several COM members. Those who got shopping services ahead of time are cackling, a moment of silence for those who didn't make it, and may the odds be ever in your favor as you scour the secondhand market and or plot some kind of frilly felony. I wouldn't advise to anyone who doesn't want to become acquainted with the business end of a loaded parasol. Breaking and entering is a misdemeanor, burglary is a felony, and there won't be much left of you to charge with either because this fashion is peopled by creatures that would yeet an entire chihuahua at your face, toss in whatever tea they were drinking at the time, and finish it off with an off-brand umbrella because a proper lady wouldn't waste good brand on a bad egg. Moving towards a brand not associated with potential slaughter, BTSSB has released pictures of their upcoming print, Kumya's Cherry Strawberry. This reporter is grateful for the brevity, and the series is cute as frack, right down to the Usakumya lace and related rabbit bears scattered throughout to give this berry print just the right pop of whimsy and interspecies confusion. It also comes in boob ruffle and skirt with suspenders for anyone who has a problem with accidental mooning and just needs some shoulder straps to hide their shame. Looking towards another reminder that summer is nigh, Metamorphose managed not to submerge several religious symbols in their fish print. This does not make up for those random gold tassels, and I can't be the only one that called this as meta the moment I saw that comically large head bow. You can clock this as the work of this bastion of WTF at least 100 yards. That said, one has to give props to the normal waist cut. It is nice to see a dress that wasn't designed for a Goomba post an unfortunate run-in with a certain plumber. Transitioning to event news, you should all know that I will be a guest of BB&B at Anime Expo in Los Angeles, California from July 4th to 7th. I will be running around their booth like a magpie, and anyone not close enough to the Golden State can also find me guesting at Magical Girl Day 2019 in Houston, Texas from August 3rd to 4th. BB&B will also be at the Magical Girl Day Gala Dinner on August 3rd, and needless to say, this reporter intends to be flat broke and surrounded by fake confections or die trying. Some ask why that news spot was wedged into the middle of the show, others know that half of you click out the moment I say, and that's all the time we have for tonight. Don't think I don't know you've the attention span of a concussed gerbil. That said, as that about wraps up the week, we turn towards LWLN's next special segment. Things that shouldn't be said to strangers unless you want to be smacked in the face. I'm talking, of course, about the umbrella incident. This also has something coincidentally to do with fish. And those of you scratching your heads are welcome to settle in while we set off on a completely different direction unrelated to the bastions of Ruffle Chat that are currently waiting to introduce us to new and improved ways to doubt the validity of bipeds as a dominant species. Welcome to Umbrellas, Aquatics, and Accidental Racism. It all started in Lolita humor, and with a story that goes from WTF to worse. Our tale begins with an OP, who we will call Cassidy, who opened with a tale of how a complete stranger came up to to her and a few other Lolitas and rated their outfits from best to worst, completely unprompted. The winner was then presented with an umbrella with some fish on it, and that entire experience would have been perfectly tucked away into the what to fuzz section of Human Existence had said complete stranger not followed up with addressing the Lolita they'd ranked as last place with, "I don't want you to think it's because I'm racist." Those of you whose brains are still stalled at the surprise umbrella should know that the aforementioned Lolita is black and wearing goth. The apparent winner was white and wearing sweet. And the utter rando that stuck their nose into these girls' business is evidently worried enough about social niceties to be concerned about being perceived as a racist, but not enough to reconsider going up to unsuspecting women and rating their outfits like it's the Westminster Dog Show. I'm not racist, but never ends well. Turning what was a pleasant outing into an unwanted competition is gross as hell. And while it may seem like a simply random encounter with an individual who has the self-possession of a bag of milk, I would like to take a moment to consider several theories as to what might have led this utter madman into these poor ladies' mists. I have 3 in mind, and the first one goes like so. I'm going to have to guess at the name. Becky McGlue-Sniffer was in some hot water. She'd obtained a black market umbrella by nefarious means, and after being tailed by police for several blocks, nearly getting caught at a Dunkin' Donuts, and almost late for dropping off Crotch Spawn III for soccer practice, she knew she'd have to go somewhere the cops would never look and ditch the evidence. It was at that moment that she came across a small coffee shop and a group of little Bo Peeps. She ditched the umbrella on the grounds of an outfit competition, gave it to the most gullible, and slipped in a bit of questionable racism to keep the group busy while she sped off in her Honda Pilot. It was the perfect crime. Scenario number 2. Covfefe McLiberty Nuggets was seriously late to a rally for moms against babies without fully automatic weapons, and the fish umbrella she'd stolen from her daughter's room was weighing heavily on her as she ran pell-mell towards the town square to join her fellow freedom junkies. She knew she still had at least a mile to go, and upon seeing a small cafe, decided to go in to order a cup of triple swirled upside-down double-shot frappuccino, no nutmeg, extra whip to go in a grande cup with sugar-free syrup. One crying barista and a demand to see the manager later, she had swiped her coffee off the counter with a smile, and ran into what she could only presume was a live taping of Toddlers in Tiaras. This was, of course, her daughter's favorite show, and knowing that Aaron would absolutely love it if her aquatic umbrella fell into the hands of her favorite TV characters, Nuggets tromped up to the group, ignored the fact that these lady babies appeared to be much bigger in person, and announced her favorite get-ups just like in the show, handed over the umbrella, and made sure to tell last place that she wasn't a racist because she'd voted for Obama. Mission accomplished. Scenario 3. And perhaps our most plausible for the evening, Gertrude von Freedom Gobbler had been abducted by aliens. Late one night at her father's tinfoil haberdashery, they had come with their flashing lights. They screamed in a language she'd never heard before, and she tried to run as words like universal background checks and transgender bathroom rights were shouted overhead. In moments, they'd caught up to her, and after being dragged into what she presumed was the hiding place for their spaceship, Gertrude did her best not to go into a cold faint as their leader drew close, shined a great beam of light in her face, and demanded to know if she ate at Chick-fil-A. It was then that she knew the truth. She hadn't been abducted by aliens. She'd been taken hostage by liberals. Their secret man-bun-backed plot to ruin America had begun, and she knew what she had to do. She pulled out her pocket-sized U.S. Constitution and set it on fire while screaming there are only 2 genders. Months later, Gertrude had gone into hiding. The libs had owned the pubs, and Big Brother was watching them all through their smart toilets. While the resistance fought on, they had to be careful, and when Gertrude saw the chance to gather more recruits, she took it with all the delicacy such opportunity demanded. Taking the chance offered by a table of obviously confused trick-or-treaters and rating their cute costumes from best to worst, she handed over an umbrella to the one most likely to love Jeebus before dropping what had become the rebellion's most hard-won battle cry. Words that Bleakley's and Mary Sue's everywhere had fought and died for. Gertrude tried to keep her face straight as she thought about the Twitter purge of 2019, the Ben & Jerry's genocide, the sight of Bill Clinton in his 5th term as president, and finally, mustering up the courage, looked deep into the eyes of the last place winner and said those glorious words, "I don't want you to think it's because I'm a racist, but..." Some say the death squads found Gertrude later that day. Others say she had to wait out 2 weeks for elective surgery and died from a case of universal health scare. Either way, that's all the time we have for tonight. You've been watching Scarfing Scarves. This has been Tyler. And before you yeet the whole computer, hurl your cell phone into a furnace, or otherwise burn the memory of this godforsaken show from your brain, you should know that this show is sponsored in part by BB&B. They are the best jewelry company to ever make sugary pastries into accessories. I will be at their booth at Anime Expo. Link to their shop below. And to wrap things up with a big fracking bow, I'd like to thank any patrons left for their consistent support of this sadistic journey into how many things I can say before you leave me for a reporter who doesn't go out of their way to offend the entirety of their audience as quickly as possible. You guys are the primary reason this show is upping its video output. And should you like this channel to continue to degrade the dignity of the species at breakneck speed with little to no consideration for common sense, then you can head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews for more updates, questions, and a front row seat to this reporter's serious personality disorders. It is still best to do anything else with your existence. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you next time.